Candace Owens, a right-wing podcaster, told the world she would, quote, stake her entire professional reputation on the fact that Brigitte Macron, the First Lady of France, is in fact a man.
That's the first sentence.
That's the first line. I mean, I love that. Endorsed, repeated, and published a series of verifiably false and devastating lies about the Macron on which this complaint is based. Included that Mrs. Macron was born a man, stole another person's identity, and transitioned to become Brigette.
We're actually facing, in many parts of our country, nothing short of societal collapse. And people are scared to go out to the shops, scared to let their kids out. That is a society that is degrading. And it's happening very, very rapidly.
Safe and smiling, the three rescue drillers posing here with their bosses are on their way home after 60 hours deep underground. Mine officials say the first thing they said to rescue crews, a joke, that they'd had time to catch up on sleep.
And certainly when the rescue team announced to us, we've got all three of them, they're in good spirits. I mean, goosebumps as I say it, happiness, but more happiness for them.
Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. I'm one of your hosts, Michelle. It's Sunday, which means we're going to bring you this week's top news from around the world, which includes and is not limited to Brigitte Macron, the French president's wife, suing Candace Owens for calling her a man. As you saw in the little intro there, Glenn Beck says that Candace says she would stake her career. I have heard Candace say this on the fact that Brigitte Macron is indeed not female by birth. We're going to get into it. I could not help myself, and you knew that I couldn't help myself. And Leah and I were just having this conversation the other day, and maybe even, I don't remember if it was on air. You know, it's so funny. I can't remember. Our life is so much, it's so real, and on air is so real. Like, we're the same people on air and off air that we have the same conversations. And I can't remember what we said to you or just what we said to each other. But one of the things that we said at some point was Leah was saying, I don't like clickbait thumbnails. And I said, I don't either, but every stinking once in a while, a topic comes up and you have to do it. There's no getting around a hilariously fun thumbnail when you have in world news. And you do realize that normally you can only sue within your country, right? So in order to sue on the global stage, it has to become a global suit. All right. So on the world stage, we have a French president, is his first lady, suing an American podcaster essentially for defamation of character that she's a man, really and truly. So we're going to get into that. I'm probably going to come right back to that as soon as I tell you the other stories that we have. That amazing clip that you saw from Nigel Farage saying that Britain is facing societal collapse. And I actually agree with this, but we're going to stand against it in prayer. When you are looking at a breakdown of society where you are bringing in so many foreigners in such a short amount of time, in such a gigantic flood, and it's not just foreigners, just regular foreigners. This is an agendafied. I just made up a word. Is that a word? Agendafied? It's an agendafied issue. No, I can't say that. That was really wrong. Let's forget I said that. Strike that from the record. Rewind. It's an agenda. that has been carried out by the world leaders at large in order to break down the society in not just the UK, but other Western nations. And it's strategic. If you had just some foreigners here, some foreigners there, or like, let's say, I'm going to actually disagree with with a comparison of migrants in, like, let's say the UK, obviously that's what we're talking about. And let's talk about maybe the southern border here in the United States with Mexicans coming up or South Americans coming up and South and Central Americans. I was told by Corey Gray that there's a difference and apparently I have to use it. But whatever, it's South of America. So you're all South Americans, whatever. Like if you're looking at the map and you've got North America, I don't know. Anyway, regardless, I will say that South and Central Americans tend to have a more conservative and Christian value. So when they come to America, and especially if they actually migrate to America and they, settle down and have kids and start a family, their religious and moral ideology is pretty much the same. Christian and Christian, by and large. That's not what you see with the migrants coming. They are by nature, most of them are Islamic, Muslim. And so that is a different mindset. You may say that some of the morals are the same, but it's not really and truly. And just the way that their societies function, the hierarchy of the male and all of that, like it's not the same at all. And so even if we were not just talking about like the workers coming in or them living off of the government or using up resources or whatever, just when we're looking at like as a whole society that has, one religious and societal construct that you're looking at that's been there for, how long has England been in existence? Like the UK, the United Kingdom, that's been there forever, right? Versus Islam and their societal construct. And it just, it is a complete breakdown of society when you like clash those together so fast. And I'm saying the UK, but you guys know that, like, let's take France for an example. You can go to France and it doesn't even look like France anymore. And we are going to talk about France today. And so it's really sad to see these nations where you want to go and you want to experience that place, and an entire different people group has come in and taken over, not just left a footprint, but just like completely taken over. And look at Sweden, and like there are entire cities that are literally no longer Swedish. This is a problem. So I'm really proud of Nigel speaking out about this, and essentially Reform UK is going to make a strong stance in this direction, which is absolutely amazing. Then speaking of amazing, and we actually have some good news, we're not always here just to cover the insanity. And I may start with this before Leah gets here. In the British Columbia, we saw 3 gold miners who were trapped for over 60 hours, and they have been rescued, and they are in good spirits, even saying, we caught up on some sleep, which I thought was hilarious and awesome. So that is a good news story, but I can't keep my mind off of this. I'm not going to do the story without Leah, the Macron story, because it does make me chuckle. Although, and I probably will wait for Leah to really get into it, because I take this story personally. And I don't have a problem telling you guys why. So for those of you that don't know, we've been doing Resistance Chicks for 8 years. We'll enter into our 9th year in 2026. So we've been doing this for 8 years. And as soon as we started Resistance Chicks, maybe I was wearing too much makeup. I don't know. But I just so happened to be like, I'm not going to lie. So these shoulders, I was a gymnast, but I was born with these. Okay. This jawline, born with that. Can't help it. Can't do anything about these cheekbones. Can't do anything about it. The muscles in my neck, can't do anything about those because I'm an athletic person. We would go live and it would make me so mad on YouTube because people would call us trannies. And it hurt my feelings. Like it legit hurt my feelings that people would say that. Like, listen, the shoulders get on my nerves too because I run into doorways with these sometimes. Like I forget that they're there and boom, and bam, I've hit my shoulder because they stand out. I don't know what it is about the way that we look that people like to take a low blow that Leah and I do. I've said it before. Leah doesn't like it when I say it. I'll be talking. I know I look like a man, whatever. Leah's like, Michelle, stop saying that. No, I actually don't look like a man, but I do say it tongue in cheek because it's so funny because so many people have said so over the past 8 years. Like when we had trolls, which we don't anymore. If you're watching, you're just here because you love us. And that makes me happy. We don't have random trolls anymore, which is, Leah finds it sad. I find it comforting because then I don't have to deal with the tranny, you're a man comments anymore, which is great. So there was a time when, not a time, this is just very recently, actually, where there was this giant push where they're calling everybody a man. I think they've said that Miley Cyrus was born a boy and like all of these people, they want to come out and they're like, oh, look at the Adam's apple. Can we just take a moment on the show and look at Michelle's neck for a second? We've never done this before. I have muscles in my neck. I don't have an Adam's apple, but when I'm talking sometimes, the muscles in my neck look very masculine. If I was a famous person, I can guarantee you people would be like identifying, no, look at those shoulders. No, like this, there are people that look way less manly than I do, that the conservative right conspiracy theorist crazy people have broken down and been like, that's a dude. You know, it's a dude. No female ever looks like that. No female is ever born like that. And yet you've got like Riley Gaines, and you've got the gymnast, and you got all these people. Like, I'm sorry, I'm Swedish, okay? Speak Sweden. I come from Viking. We suck blood. We eat hearts. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm born this way. So that's what I mean when I say I take this story personally, because I cannot stand it when people accuse females of being a man when they have presented their entire career or whatever ever since they've been in the public eye as a female. Like, we watched Miley Cyrus grow up on television. She's a little girl. Stop it. This insanity stuff, like, you take it too far. So all of that being said, we're going to talk about Brigette Macron. Leah, I don't even know how many stories you have up, but I would like to take you guys. I have one article up from the Times that I did want to read from 2017, 2023. And it goes back to an interview from 2017 where Brigette Macron is interviewed and she talks about how, hi, Leah, welcome to your show. She talks about how she waited to marry Emmanuel Macron. She's 25 years his senior.
Yeah.
He's 45. He's very young. At the time of this article, I think he's older now, but at the time of this article, it was like 2023, and she was like 70, whatever. She was legitimately his teacher. Okay. She legitimately had, quote unquote, a relationship as 25 years his senior when he was 15 years old.
Yeah.
And she says in this article that she waited to actually get into a relationship with Macron because of her children. Okay. So I don't know what Leah has as far as Candace Owens
read that part of
evidence. Let's pull up this article
because the idea was that she waited until he was of a legal age.
Okay. Let's go over this together. Catherine says, same here. I'm Norwegian. You know,
she waited 10 years to marry him. I thought, no, but she didn't. Yeah, that's disgusting.
It says Brigitte Macron delayed her marriage to the future French president by a decade because she feared her 3 children's lives would have been, quote, wrecked by formalizing her liaison with a boy their own age. Mm-hmm. The 70-year-old former drama teacher of Emmanuel Macron, 45 at the time of this article, this is 2023, gave a rare glimpse into their classroom romance in an interview with Paris Match magazine about her life as France's premier dame since 2017. Macron was 15 when he fell for Brigitte Azer, a 40-year-old married woman whose daughter Laurence was his classmate at the Catholic Providence School in Owens, northern France. She gradually fell under his spell. This is how Brigitte tells the story, because otherwise she would be a predator. And the affair caused scandal in the provincial Picardy city. Macron's parents, both doctors, sent him to board in Paris for his sixth form studies, but he continued to pursue her. He pursued her at 15. My head was in a mess, she said. At the moment of my father's death, I was taken over by a hurricane inside of me. For me, such a young boy was crippling. Emmanuel had to leave for Paris. I told myself that he would fall in love with someone else his own age. It didn't happen. She gave up teaching drama at the class where she met Macron. She also taught French language and Latin. That only obstacle was my children, she said. I took time so I would not wreck their lives. That lasted 10 years, the time to put them on the rails. You can imagine what they were hearing, but I didn't want to miss out on my life, she says. I do not know how my parents were the model of the fidelity and good education would have reacted to our marriage. She came from a wealthy family of confectioners. Very sweet lady. And her mother, Simone, I don't even want to try, died in 1996. She said her older siblings used to joke about the gossip, saying, Papa, up there in heaven, have a look at Paris Match. She was divorced from her estranged husband, André Louis, a banker, in 2006, and married Macron in 2007 when he was a civil servant. Her son is now 48, 3 years older than her second husband, and her daughters are 46 and 39.
I didn't know that.
Azier never gave an interview and died in 2019. Wow. France's youngest leader since Napoleon, still dazzles her with his brilliance, she said. There's not a single day that he doesn't surprise me, she added. I have never seen such a memory, such an intellectual capacity. I had many brilliant pupils and none had his capability. I have always admired him. The couple led a quiet home life. She cooks the president breakfast and sometimes dinner, waiting for him to come home from work to their apartments in the Elysee Palace between 10 and 11 p.m. She is no politician, but passes on information from her conversations with ministers and others. She teaches in adult education for charity and works for good causes and has learnt to weather criticism such as finding fault with her clothes, the short skirts that were too short. I didn't have any long ones, she explained. You learn as you go along. I have bent to the discipline. Reviewing foreign leaders, she praised the king and queen, whom she hosted on their state visit in September. When the royal couple came, I was worried, she said. But right from their arrival at the Arc de Triomphe, I'm not even going to try because I don't know how to pronounce French names sometimes. When Camilla got out of the car and kissed me, they set the tone. He is very polished, very cultivated, very funny. What sums them up is their delicacy. She contrasted their grandeur of the royal couple at their state occasions with their private selves. On the Thursday evening, they came for an aperitif at the Elysee because they did not eat much, she said. There were just four of us, a marvelous moment. There they were, Charles and Camilla. The next day, they left for Bordeaux. Melania Trump, who visited the Elysee Palace in 2017 with her husband, the U.S. president, was very sweet, she said. But she keeps a firm hand on her husband. When she taps her watch at dinner, her husband understands that it is time to get up and leave. He obeys. She has a strong personality. Mrs. Macron talks rarely about their domestic life, but she has previously touched on the difficult years of her relationship with the former pupil who persisted in his pursuit of her against all adversity. Her Paris Match interview with Catherine Ney, 80, a grand dame of French journalism, offered a little more insight into her unusual marriage. So I wanted to read that just to kind of give you guys this understanding of, I feel like Candace Owens is barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, she's talked about it though, and I'm going to play a clip of it. But the
right tree is whether this woman was born a man and how she ended up with kids. If she was, I don't know. Okay. The fact that as a presenting female at the age of 40, pursued a relationship with a 15-year-old little boy. And apparently this is acceptable in France. This is an acceptable thing. And we're going to get into a lot of things when we talk about Scott Kesterson, including one of the things is that this exact same thing happened to him, except for his college professor was not 25 years his senior. However, he did marry a French woman that was his senior and his teacher when he was just a very young guy in college. And so that kind of sets a stage for very interesting dynamics that we are going to talk about those things. So get ready for that whenever we do that show that the Lord is going to lead us to do. But it does beg the question, Leah, this acceptability of females or males being okay with pedophilia and marrying the marrying of younger people in France. Yeah. When we were in Montana in 2017, we were hiking in Glacier National Park and we ran into some French people and we're like, oh, it's so cool. You're French. Like, what do you, at that time we were heavily covering this specific story. And we asked them what they thought of it, thinking that they would be like shocked. And they're like, oh, no, that's just French. That's just how we are, you know? And we're like, okay, then like pedophilia, no problemo for them. But for the rest of us and the rest of the world, it wasn't just pedophilia, right? She's married. She has kids, his age. He's a child. And this article presenting as if Macron is the one that pursued her is laughable. Okay. And this is how, let's go back to, Leah and I did a documentary. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. If you didn't see it, please go to resistancechicks.com and just put in the word monsters in the search bar. And there it will be. Alfred Kinsey and the Monsters of America. One of the things that Judith Reisman uncovered when she was contracted by the government, by the way, to look into all of the four main pornography magazines at the time, Playboy, Penthouse, Hustler, and I feel like there was one more. She was contacted by the government to seek out, is there pedophilia in these magazines? And what we found when we were researching for what Judith found is that throughout all of these magazines, the running theme is of little girls seducing full-grown creepy men. That is how pedophiles excuse being a pedophile. They say, but they wooed me. They pursued me. This little girl was seducing me at 4 years old. Or like even she 13. Says, or at 13, she was seducing me at 14, at 15. Macron was seducing me and pursuing me when he was 15 years old. No, you're a pedo.
Yeah.
Okay. You're a monster. Let me read a couple of comments before we move on here while Leah's still opening her tabs. Let's see. Sherry says, I think that there are a lot more of the elite who are transgender than we realize. Jim says, that's what I thought before you explained that. That's what I thought. I think you explained that before. Barry says, Michelle, there are well over 125,000 migrants who've come to the UK illegally on dinghies across the Channel Islands the last few years. That's without the illegal immigration, which has skyrocketed since Brexit. The UK started as a nation called Britannia over 2,000 years ago, before it was called the British Isles, and dated back to over 7,000 years. Chris says, I have not thought that you look manly. Thank you very much. I will receive all of those because I have received 1,000 in the other direction. I appreciate it. Barry says, you definitely don't look like blokes. People who said that were bloody morons. Thank you. And we don't usually use the word bloody, but there you go. Let's see. Barry says, well, Brigitte Macron looks like dramas then. I don't even know what you mean by that. Sherry says, it'll be interesting to see if they go to Discovery with this. I wonder if this is to divert attention from other things. That is a good question, and one definitely worth asking if it is a distraction to distract us from other things. I think, let me check over here on YouTube and see if there's anything I need to get. Pepe Le Pew Macron says, Gio. Hi, Gio. Long time no see. Stuart the Brit says, I was in Gladstone from 3 to 13. About the time I went back for a visit, my 5 sisters are there and 1 brother. Let me check. We are live over on Resistance Chicks YouTube, of all places. You may be shocked to see us there. Red's over there. He says, it's your Swedish stock. No, neither one of you look male. There's just trolls and crazy people out there. Max says, OMG, that's just disgusting. Them reprobates. Well said. Potato Head says, I remember you ladies from Periscope. That's a very long time.
Wow.
That's when we went live. Remember when Twitter had Periscope
Yeah.
down? That's
You
awesome.
found us again.
So glad that you're here, Potato Head. That is amazing. All right. So, Leah, let me know when you have some tabs up, and I'll get to them.
You can get to them.
All right.
This is a story that has, I feel like we covered this from, I think, 2017 when
Yes.
there was the election between Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen.
Yeah. The first time.
And nobody else seemed to be talking about it.
We were the only people talking about
I
the
was
fact
like-
that she's a pedophile.
We always called him, I called him Baby Macron.
Baby Macron.
Because 8 years ago, he was,
38.
how old is he now? 45?
She's like 47 now, so maybe like, he was probably like 39, I think, at the time.
So he wasn't even 40 years old running as president.
Right.
And then here's this woman. And let's just at least take for granted that maybe she is a woman. I just don't think that it matters. Honestly, who cares if she is a transgender man? Why is that the bigger scandal? The big scandal is that she is a child predator.
That's kind of what I feel like, because it's 2025.
Whether
you're a man, you're a woman, whatever, you are
Yeah.
a criminal.
Yeah.
You're a legit criminal.
So this is my issue with Candace, is that, you know, our tagline is, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's actually the truth,
Yeah.
right? And so if what happens is when you muddy the waters around a true conspiracy, and what's a conspiracy?
Two or more people coming together to do something wrong.
Conspiring to do something
Mostly a
wrong.
crime.
So this idea that Emmanuel Macron being is a product of a child predator. He was preyed on as a child. That is a conspiracy theory that is actually true.
Yeah.
Right? Because they would say that in France, like you just told everybody, like, I was shocked to be on top of this mountain looking over this beautiful view and have this couple literally say, oh, we're French. Talking about a 40-year-old teacher and a 15-year-old boy. Like, so you're all pedophiles? Like, you're all child predators? Like, what do you mean, oh, we're French? Like, I get it if you're like, oh, so she had an affair. Oh, we're French.
Or
But, like,
she dressed provocatively.
She
or-
went around
yeah.
naked. Oh, we're French. But
Which they do say that, by the way.
Do you draw the line? Where's the line that you draw? And I guess the legal age in France is 15.
Right.
And that's where they draw the line. Like, but she was his student before.
She was his teacher.
She was his teacher when he was 14.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The actual document, and we're going to play this I'm going to play the Glenn Beck clip first. The actual document in which the Macrons are suing Candace Owens, for Candace Owens it has been seen by millions of people.
I know.
It, to me, it's like
hilarious.
watching like the Sun magazine with like the, you know, alien baby. You know what I mean? Like it's you can't look away, even though you know it's fake. It just seems hilarious, right?
Yeah. Hang on. Wait.
So-
We're having some issues.
To say it's defamation is hilarious too. Like, what's wrong with being a man? Well, I guess it's you're lying about your gender. I guess that would be the defamation.
Yeah.
But in this particular story, that she weaves, she makes it even weirder. Mm-hmm. She says that somehow they're a product of incest, and that Brigette is actually his dad. So I didn't watch. Maybe some of you did, but I did not watch the Candace Owens documentary on Brigette being a man. Tucker Carlson did, and he believes it, which is hilarious to me. The problem is like I say, what happens is this is what I believe like Hillary Clinton does and all these other. Somebody sent me an article yesterday about somebody in our movement and was like, did you know this person is being brought up on charges? Da, 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 da. And I said, I looked into it and I didn't see any other corroborating articles. Mm-hmm. And I said, just double check, before you get all excited or whatever. And because what the CIA does and what the deep state, what they do, it's called, I'm going to make up a term, flush and retreat.
I'm not sure we're live right now.
Oh,
I'm
really?
so sorry. We are having some issues, major issues here.
With the internet?
Everything.
think it's the
I don't know what it is. Everything is frozen except for our camera, which is interesting because that usually freezes first.
Do you want me to check? Check your mic 1, 2. Let's see if we're Rumble. If we are still live, and I'll just keep talking. We have not had to have, you know what's so funny is we have not had any instances like this when we were saying, Michelle and I were talking about, let me get to the live here. Let's see if we're live.
Well, and I can't even get the comment section to come up, and Facebook keeps dropping. I don't know why.
We are pixelated.
I'm so sorry about this, guys. Please be patient if you're tuning in.
I think it might have dropped. It says back now. I lost them too. Back now. Frozen Girls lost you. Back now. I think we did. Oh. So you were says so sorry about this, guys. Please be patient.
Okay. Well, then we're in and out, but
Definitely
Facebook keeps
breaking
dropping
up.
for
Frozen
sure.
screen though. Definitely breaking up. But we're
We
here.
might be back.
But it keeps replaying again.
No,
Back now.
I know it's like in and out.
Almost like somebody doesn't want this to air.
It's almost like it, isn't it?
Thank you, Warrior Edge of Time. Now it's back. People are saying it's back. People are saying
Okay.
we're back. We're
All
back.
right.
We're back. We're back. We're back.
right.
Crazy. Oh my
I
gosh.
don't know which ones we lost, but
Okay. So I'm just going to keep talking then. Okay. So you have to check out everything. What happens, I'm calling this flush and retreat or flush and cleanse. And it's something that like the Clintons will do where, you know, so-and-so was caught in the dark room and they have proof that Clinton was drinking baby blood or something. Okay. Well, that is demonstrably false.
right.
So everything else against them is demonstrably false. Okay. So what Candace Owens is doing, whether she knows it or not, is she's actually covering up the actual pedastry. Even though she's talking about it,
Yeah.
it takes away from the umph of the horribleness of it. If she just literally went on a rampage and said, Brigitte molested Macron, like, look at this. This is awful.
I know. I
We
agree
call
with you
that,
on
this is America has we have 18. I don't care. Suddenly 15-year-olds are not more capable of having sex with adults just because it's France, just because you guys are just a bunch of perverts.
exactly.
Okay, I say the same thing in the UK where your age of consent is 16. Just because you have a bunch of perverts doesn't mean that it should be that a 40-year-old should be able to groom or molest a 16-year-old. Okay.
Well, and then let's add to that because I know a lot of you guys that tune into our world news.
Everybody knows an adult is 18, pretty much worldwide.
You guys, a lot of you tune into our world news show. Maybe the religious stuff isn't for you. Maybe the healing for the fractured soul is not for you. But for the past, since we started Healing for the Fractured Soul, essentially we've been getting into a lot of this, talking about when people in positions of authority use that position of authority to groom and manipulate and to sexually kidnap, essentially, another person. So regardless of age, I'm so sorry. My goodness. Frog in my throat. Get it? French. You guys always call them the frogs over there.
No, that's the Brits are called frogs.
No, the French are called frogs.
Oh, okay, yeah, because Brit Bryser said frogs are just weird. Yeah.
Right. So when we're looking at what she did, his age is a huge issue. But even if he had been 16 or 17, like I'm saying, like the teacher student issue is a problem. We were members of a youth group and we ended up moving out to Oklahoma before this manifested, but man, it went rampant. Our youth pastor married somebody in the youth group. Now they were only probably about 3 or 4 years apart in age, but he was the youth pastor while she was still old enough to be in the youth group. Like he was like 23, 24, and she was like 18, you know, her senior year. But still, when she graduated, then he pursued her almost immediately. And that's weird. Another case of actual like pedophilia happened in our youth group where there was like a 26-year-old youth pastor, same youth group, that ended up having some sort of, you know, whatever with a younger girl who was like 16 or 17. Then our friend and youth pastor, I don't mind calling out her name, Greta. This was after we were out in Oklahoma. come to find out, she had a boy in her youth group, and she's like 4, 5, 6, 7, I don't know how many years older than this boy, who he goes through youth group. And then when he gets out of youth group, they're married and they have kids now. Like, there was a spirit of pedophilia going through that youth group. Okay. And it's weird. It's wrong. It's gross. You do not take your position of authority and then pursue a relationship with someone that you helped influence and raise like that. Like, that's not, so this whole teacher thing. And this is why Lee and I have covered so much ad nauseum on our Healing for the Fractured Soul or different episodes that we've done. When these Mike Bickles, everybody wants to like go to an age. They want to go, well, was it legal? Did they break a law? I don't care as much about that. I mean, I do care about it, but I don't care as much about that as I care about somebody in a position of authority using that authority to pursue a relationship with somebody that is under them. And this happens a lot, like Greg Locke. Okay. We do not, I think that man is a fraud.
Okay, so
let me finish this thought and then you can get back to that. I think he's a fraud. Now, this is my opinion, but from the research that we have done and from his own words and confessions, the woman that he is married to now came to church wanting healing and help, and his wife and he were trying to minister to her, and they were quote unquote ministering to her. He ends up divorcing his wife and then marrying this woman who they may or may not have, and I do not know, had an affair before he divorced his wife and then married this woman. And I'm looking at it from the outside going, she came to you for healing. And then you ended up and you ministered to her and helped her out of this really low place. And then you married her. I find that questionable.
Okay, so yeah, that's very questionable. But what's even more questionable is how France views sexuality. And this goes back to what you're talking about with Alfred Kinsey. And I'm going to read this article because this is highly disturbing. And this is from 2021. So Macron is in office and there is a rash, a ton of incestuous relationships revealed in the elites in France. So I'm going to read this article and how this ties in because this is insane. So Anna Tumazov chose a powerful hashtag to highlight sexual abuse at France's top political science college, Sciences Po. The training ground for the country's presidents, politicians, and administrators became hashtags science pigs, science porks. The story is very French, Anna told me, because it's about great schools, it's about rape culture, it's about the elegance of being silent. That's very French. Since then, the social media activist has received more than 400 messages from current and foreign students of Science Po. They describe sexual assaults and rapes, mostly by fellow students, and they say they were not taken seriously by the college. Some were told that it's not the worst thing in the world, that life just goes on. Others were accused of defamation. Some were considered liars. I haven't received any testimony of people being well treated. Stories like this are not new and not unique to this university. But she believes they are attracting a wider attention now because the college is already under the spotlight for something else. France has been shaken, and this was in 2021. It's going to tie in because it's very strange. France has been shaken by a series of incest allegations involving public figures over the past few weeks in 2021, beginning last month with the publication of a book by Camille Kouchner, in which she accused her stepfather, Oliver Dumol, of abusing her twin brother as a child. Oliver Dumol, a political commentator, was head of the Sciences Po Foundation. He was head of the college, the university in France that trained all the elite. Okay. He resigned along with the school's director, who in turn had also known about the allegations. The government investigation into the college found no systemic cover-up, but noted that none of those who knew about the accusations had reported them, and said that the college should reinforce awareness of gender-based and sexual violence. Science Po said in a statement that it supported the victims of gender-based sexual violence. Alexander Kouchner, Camille's half-brother, teaches at the university. It's probably true, he said, that the book has refocused attention on other forms of sexual assault. But it would be untrue and unwise to think this started with a debate about incest. It started with the Me Too movement. Other colleges are now facing similar pressure. The Dumol affair has also reverberated far beyond one family or one college in opening up a conversation about incest. Incest in France is used to mean sexual abuse by relatives, including those not related by blood. So remember, Candace Owens took her allegations because somebody wrote a book about Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte, and tried to outline the fact that there's not pictures of her with her kids and all these different things. Candace ran with it, and she should have just, she could have just reported it like that. The problem is that if you identify a case as not being incest when it really is a crime of some other crime, you do this flush and wash where you're washing away real victims of incest, and you're washing away the fact of the real crime that happened with the pedastry and the child abuse. Okay. So I believe these two women these two authors wrote this book because they got caught up in this and was like, well, I think they kind of made up a story. But there is a real story here. The association, Face les Incestés, Facing Incest, says the number of calls it received in the month of February 2021 shot up from 30 to almost 200. Incest in France is used to mean sexual abuse by relatives, including those not related by blood. Lawyers described similar jumps in the number of clients wanting to explore legal action. I've never seen anything like this. One lawyer told the BBC, people will often start by saying, the book Camille Kouchner? Well, something quite like that happened to me. Earlier this week, a deputy mayor of Paris, Audrey Pullover, spoke to France Interradio about revelations that her deceased father had abused 3 of her cousins as children. She knew it was true, she said, because things happened as a child that I felt weren't normal. There was a climate I didn't understand. Audrey Pullover says, when you are the daughter of a monster, at some point you wonder if you are not a monster yourself. It's almost automatic. And then here's where Macron comes in. Even Macron has spoken about the impact of the Dumas affair. The silence built by criminals and cowardice is finally exploding, he says. It's exploding because of the courage of a sister who could no longer stay silent, than the courage of thousands of others who have told accounts of their lives broken in the sanctuary of their childhood bedrooms. No one can ignore them any longer. This is the Macron who was groomed. A study conducted last year in 2020 suggested that 1 in 10 people in France have experienced incestuous sexual abuse. 1 out of every 10 people have had incestuous sexual abuse in France. You people need to get a grip.
I think that figure is probably the same here, though. Like we have
sexual abuse, but not incestuous abuse.
Okay.
Because I don't know a lot of incest people.
Okay.
Like 1 in 10, you would know 1. I know 1 or 2. I know I know some, but not if I go into a room.
It seems like it's always like an uncle or a dad or something like that. That's incest.
I don't know. I don't think it's 1 in 10.
It's usually like a cousin or an uncle or a dad. That's like what it almost always is.
I don't think so. I think
there's
it's
the
1
priest,
in 10.
and then there's the the teacher. But like most everybody that I know, actually, my experience is the opposite.
No, because I know. I would say it's 50-50 for the people that I know.
The babysitters,
babysitters, teachers, gym teachers, the people that have come and said stuff to me. It's not like, I don't think America has that level of incest. No, not incest. Maybe sexual assault, but not incest. Okay. I don't believe it. 1 in 10 people.
I still think it's really high, but keep going.
Okay. Because I could go, like, if we're looking at my neighborhood, I don't think 1 in 10 people that live in my neighborhood have been incestuously sexually abused. Because I don't think 1 in 10 in my neighborhood have been sexually abused.
Well, hang on, wait, pause with the ratios here. We have 1 in 4 boys and 1 in 4 girls have been sexually molested in America. 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls. That's the stats that we have. That's way more than 1 to 10. So
I've had experience. Here's the thing. I've experienced a sexual assault. We're talking about a whole other jump into incest. And so sexual assault doesn't mean rape.
No, I'm talking about pedophilia, molested, not sexual assault.
But no, not 1 in 4. But those aren't the stats. The stats aren't pedophilia. The stats are sexual assault. 1 in 4 have experienced sexual assault. Mostly when they get older in college, those kind of things. It's not.
All right, we'll have to revisit those.
Okay. Since the French Revolution, this is where it gets really sick. Since the French Revolution, we have designed the family as a sanctuary in which the state does not enter. During the 20th century, French society refused to see incest, refused to pronounce the word incest, and refused to believe the children in the courts. The importance, according to the psychoanalytic theory in France, the idea that children desire their parents. This is from Sigmund Freud. They actually believed that children wanted to pursue their parents sexually. Has also affected attitudes here, as did theories that aimed to legitimize pedophilia in the 1970s. That's what happens when you take God out, by the way. It is currently legal in France. In 2021, I had to Google this. In 2021, there was no age of consent in France. And it still is, from what I understand, legal in France for blood relatives to have consensual sex acts as kids or as adults, while incest is an aggregating factor in cases of child rape and molestation. Under French law, a rape charge is only possible if there's proof of force, threat, violence, or surprise. Otherwise, it is tried as a lesser offense of sexual assault. That applies to children. As at the time of this article from the BBC, France had no legal age of consent. So you had to prove that a child didn't want to do something with the parents in order for it to be a crime. That's insane. And so they did change this. It says that may be changing. 2 bills are going through Parliament because the rest of the world, gave you a slap upside the head, and have put forward plans to remove the possibility that minors can consent to sex. This is why in the defamation article, they say their relationship was in the bounds of the law.
Right.
They don't say it was moral, but because there's no age of consent.
Right.
He could have been 3 years old, and he should have said, "Oh, he wooed me. Our relationship was in the bounds of the law."
Right.
"Oh, he was a baby, an infant. Our relationship was in the bounds of the law." Okay, which is why I think they're trying to pin him on the incest deal. Like, not only is he transgender, she's a transgender, but then she's Macron's father. Okay. That's what Candace is trying to say. That's what she's saying.
I know.
And Macron has asked his government to draw up similar proposals. Basically, we got away with it. This woman got away with it, but now we don't. You know what? And you know what's amazing? This is what is so disgusting to me. They, under Macron's government, set the age of consent at the very age that so that Macron wouldn't, so that they couldn't go back and say,
right,
Brigitte abused you. Why are you setting the age of consent?
Right.
So they couldn't set it at 14. But they couldn't set it.
Have.
Or no. What I mean is they
couldn't
couldn't set it at 16.
Right.
Because then it already had been well known that he was 15.
Right.
So this is one of those elite cover-ups. And we'll go after those, or we'll go after those historically, or we'll go after other people, but we'll literally frame a law about child abuse around themselves. Okay. And somebody says there's something new in France in this conversation. It's the fact that intimacy has become a political subject. We're looking at a movement that puts what happens to individuals at the forefront of the political debate. Back in 1986, French television audiences watched Eva Thomas speak about her experiences as an incest survivor. It was the first time anyone there had spoken out in a way that without the protection of being anonymous. "I want to stop feeling ashamed," she told her interviewers. "Why didn't you tell your mother?" she was asked. "And forgive me, but you let him do this?" ? Now there are so many voices and so many campaigns about this. I just feel like this article was written in 2021, and then I found one here from Politico that so that article was written in February of 21. So within 3 months, April 16th, 2021, the National Assembly made sexual, intercourse between an adult and a minor under 15 punishable by up to 20 years in jail. The move enforces an age of consent in a country where previous legislation on the matter was often seen as ambiguous. Sex between adults and minors under 15 was already illegal, but was up until now only prosecuted as rape if there was proof of coercion. When there was no proof of coercion, it was prosecuted as another lighter offense called sexual act on a minor, punishable by up to 7 years in prison. No adult aggressor will be able to claim a minor under 15 was consenting. A so-called Romeo and Juliet provision will allow the consensual relationships between a minor under 15 and an adult teenager if the age difference is under 5 years. The provision passed despite some MPs proposing to lower the difference to take into account the fact that a 13-year-old child has never has the necessary judgment to consent to a 18-year-old. So they want to make sure that that is, not a thing. The law also enforces a different threshold for incestuous sexual relationships considered as rape, any act of something between an adult and a minor under 18. The move comes after the allegations of this incestual abuse. So they did do that. Let's go over here to this Glenn Beck video on France, the president and the first lady of France suing Candace Owens.
Right-wing podcaster told the world she would, quote, stake her entire professional reputation on the fact that Brigitte Macron, the First Lady of France, is in fact a man.
That's the first
That's
sentence.
the first line. I mean, I love that. Endorsed, repeated, and published a series of verifiably false and devastating lies about the Macron on which this complaint is based. Included that Mrs. Macron was born a man, stole another person's identity, and transitioned to become Brigette. That Mrs. Macron and President Macron are blood relatives committing incest. That President Macron was chosen to be the president of France as part of a CIA-operated MK Ultra program or similar mind control program. And Mrs. Macron and President Macron are committing forgery, fraud, and abuses of power to conceal these secrets. This was filed by the Macrons against Candace Owens in the state of Delaware. I love this story. Here's the president of France responding to Candace Owens, thinking you're going to get her to shut up. You've just made this a global story for a very long time now. And you're not going to win, President of France, because we have something called the First Amendment. You are a public figure, and your wife is a public figure. And you're not going to be able to stop her from having her opinion. Candace Owens.
So I actually disagree with Glenn on that. Wholeheartedly, from a legal standpoint alone, you can sue for defamation of character. So she's not stating that she thinks he's a man. She's stating unequivocally that Brigitte Macron is a man. And from the history of the press, you can sue for defamation. Look at what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. Oh, not Kyle Rittenhouse. Who was the other one?
I know you're talking about.
The kid that was standing on the steps. Oh, anyway, he got a giant payout because he was able to sue because the news, all the news stations came and defamed his character. So I kind of disagree with Glenn there. I'm really surprised that he would say that the First Amendment covers defamation of character, because it doesn't here in the United States at all. I would like to pose this. Now, I know where a lot of you guys are going to land on this. You think that Brigitte Macron is a man. I'm going to tell you, I don't. Mm-hmm. I've been covering this story since 2017. I think that it is as on the nose and in your face as it looks. She was a teacher, a female teacher, and birthed 3 children. Mm-hmm. And when it goes to discovery, they will be able to prove that. And her children, like, the idea that somehow Macron fits in the fact that this dude, Brigitte, is Macron's dad, and like, that is so, it's way more plausible, probable, and like easy to identify that she was just one of those teachers that had a thing for the 15-year-old boy, and it just makes her a gross pedo, and she left her husband and her 3 kids at the time. Like, here's the thing. Her kids can come and testify if they need to. Like, you know what I mean? This whole thing is like this is what Lee and I say on our show all the time. if everything is a conspiracy, then nothing is. You have to be able to say, hang on, here, this is, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck.
So let's go over here to the Daily Mail article, and we can see some pictures of what her children look like with her. And, you know, there's more to this story. In the early months of President Macron and his wife Brigitte's forbidden relationship have really been out of the spotlight since his election in 2017. This week, Brigitte's daughter, who was 40 years old, Tiffany Ozeri, who is just 6 years younger than her stepfather, shone a light on how she and her two older siblings really felt when the teenage Emmanuel, 17 at the time, declared he wanted to marry their drama teacher mother, then 42. Speaking to Paris Match ahead of the release of her first novel, Brigitte's daughter has revealed how she and her sister Lawrence, who is 47, and her brother 49, Sebastian, who were 17 and 19 at the time, while she was just 10, faced judgment and backbiting as news of the scandalous romance broke in their local community by the French city of Amiens. She told the French magazine, "The attacks, the backbiting, the judgments. It was not yet the era of social networks, but we were in a small provincial town. Everything is known." And this is Macron, 46, with Brigitte, 70 years old, by the way. And then Tiffany Ozeri, Brigitte's younger daughter, said she has a close relationship with her stepfather, but that it had initially been hard to deal with the local gossip. Footage captures the moment a 15-year-old Emmanuel Macron kissed his 40-year-old teacher Brigitte Wright in 1993, 2 years before he declared he wanted to marry her.
So there's a gallery of pictures here.
So how is there a picture of that?
I don't know. I don't know either, but we'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. Do you think that Brigitte Macron is really a man? You can find out more by watching the rest of this episode at ResistanceChicks.com. Thank you for tuning in to Resistance Chicks right here at Faith and Freedom TV. And remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's actually the truth.